Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. It's Wednesday. Wednesday's talk champion, of course, Dr. Maya Bowen, and none other than Luis Delgado. Dr. Bowen's off. It's that time of year where people actually go on vacation and stuff. But Luis is here, the one and only. Mr. Delgado, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning, family. I'm doing great, man. Good morning to all our listeners and our viewers. And Dr. Maya, wherever you're at, man, I hope you're having a great time and enjoying your vacation. Let's have a great day. Let's make the best of every opportunity that's presented to us today, family. Yes.
Absolutely. Had a good weekend?
Outstanding weekend, Stan. Got a chance to do some things with my wife and my son. And we usually just do stuff. Local trips.
Mm-hmm.
We go for rides and do things like that, and it's always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut has a lot of beautiful spots that you can go to for day trips, and check out different communities, and there's different foods around the state too that people are known for. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people know that Waterbury and New Haven are known for their pizza. They have a lot of great pizza there.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. We love pizza. I had no idea that Waterbury. Now New Haven, there's a pizza place in New Haven that's supposed to be phenomenal, but I didn't know about Waterbury.
Yeah, they have a couple of phenomenal spots in New Haven and Waterbury, and I think Hartford has a good reputation for indigenous food. The Spanish-speaking food, the Colombians and the Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans in Hartford are really known for their wonderful ackee, man.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had ackee, Stan?
And saltfish.
Yes, that's an amazing dish.
No, I've of course heard of this, but no. It reminds me too much of eggs.
It could be made with eggs too, but it's not eggs, man.
But
it's a healthy, natural dish.
It's a plant.
It's a fruit. Ackee is a fruit. Yes.
Fruit.
Yes. So yeah.
Is it sweet? What's it taste like?
It doesn't taste sweet or sour. But it's very tasty, very savory.
Now, is this a savory flavor because, like, if you cook it on its own, it's generally with something else. So, is it served by itself, or do people mix stuff up in it?
Well, the way that it was introduced to me, and the way that I eat it now, is with saltfish. It's an extremely, protein breakfast. With all the healthy carbs that you would need. If you have some ackee with saltfish in the morning, at 6 a.m, with your tea and a piece of bread or something, you can go all the way till about 4 o'clock on that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very healthy. It's very filling, but not stuffing. Like you feel like you feel like you're ready to take the day on after a breakfast like that.
Wow.
So we have outstanding foods. For a long time we had outstanding Italian restaurants in the South End, but they kind of all moved out.
Yeah.
So to the point is that there's a lot of wonderful places that you don't have to go far, to have a good time.
Well, good time is in the mind. You'll hear people say there's nothing to do. But this place is boring. Well, maybe the place isn't boring. Could be just you're boring. It's like, there's so much to do and so many places to go.
And you have to be prepared to receive all these blessings, Stan. When you go somewhere, I think that you have to have an open mind. We still have to be cautious as black and brown people into the spaces that we step into, but you always go places with an open mind, and I think it kind of enhances your experience because you get to really, enjoy and kind of understand what it is that that's being presented to you. So yeah.
Good morning. Not sure what today's topic. But the Atlanta PD officer who killed Rayshard Brooks has been acquitted. Where's the outrage? That's from one of our viewers.
Well, I was reading about that. And while I was sitting outside, because I sit outside for a couple minutes to get my thoughts together, I was thinking about a similar article and I'll make the connection in a minute. But about the people in the Connecticut town that are being arrested for not reporting some inappropriateness by a teacher that turns out that he could have been doing it for 23 years. So here's the connection. All these organizations, the teachers, the police, the firemen, in New Britain, a large percentage of the firemen have serious drug problems. This was reported in the paper a couple weeks ago. So here's what happens, and this is what we have to guard against, right? They investigate each other, and when they don't find a crime, there's no charges filed. There's a lot of stuff that we see on before there was a fuss, there was outcry about Rodney King. Those officers were all walking around, they were not charged with anything. And that's the norm for them. So while I was outside today, and I'm so happy that this viewer raised this issue, while I was sitting outside today, is that I think one of the things that we have to consider is that each and every one of these organizations needs to be, anything that happens with them needs to be investigated by an impartial party, organization, something that's set up that has nothing to do with them, but has the power to met out whatever needs to be done. If an investigation is going to be done, they can do it, and they will come to the conclusions as to whether the police officer was guilty or not. Because if we leave it up to these people, you know how many teachers every day commit crimes against our kids? I'm not talking about breaking policies. I'm not talking about breaking a rule. I'm talking about crimes. And how many of them are investigated and charged with that? Because it's the same thing. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Stan, because it's further than that. We got to talk about these unions and how they become like criminal enterprises a lot of times, because when you protect the criminal, that's what you are. And so when these unions are protecting some of the membership, this is what you get. This thing that happened in Atlanta, and it's happened all over the country. We can see clearly that police officers are committing outrageous crimes, and they're found innocent by their own. So if a police officer is found innocent by his people, then there's no investigation. It has to go to the state's attorney, right? But if nothing is handed over to the state, there's no investigation, there's no charges, there's nothing. So we have to think about that as communities and as a nation.
Well, there's actually something we can do about it on the community level. There's a documentary out. It might be on Netflix about Boeing and the 737 MAX. And, two of them crashed. Long story short, without the backstory. Boeing was charged with investigating, superseding and supervising and overseeing its own systems. And so they covered up the problem that could have been avoided. 2 planes crashed. And so anytime you have somebody covering up, anytime you have someone investigating or inspecting their own work, you're heading for disaster.
Well, Stan, that's been the standard and the norm all these years for the police. That's exactly what they do.
Well, do
you know that police officers have the highest rate of suicide and divorce? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh. But here's the point.
It's a high stress job. Having said all of that, whether it's a corporation like Boeing, whether it's the police, whether it's the union, anytime someone is charged were looking to expose a wrong they do, they're more predisposed to cover it up or keep silent. That's just human nature. There should be no shock at this. And so that's why you have oversight committees and you have checks and balances. But if the checks and balances don't work, then folk get away with it. Or if you can pay somebody off, if you can undermine the system in any particular way. So if you have internal affairs, and internal affairs can be compromised because it's going to make the department look bad or make the city look bad. So they cover up. You had mentioned about the situation out in one of the suburban towns about, the guy failing to do his part, I guess, as a mandated reporter. He did not talk about sexual inappropriateness against. Now he knew about this and didn't do anything. Now he knew. That's not the person. People. That's not the person who actually did the wrong.
Right.
So, but there's the person who did the wrong, which is wrong. Then there's the people who know about the wrong who don't do anything, which again is wrong. But everyone's covering up for everyone else.
Well, we talked about this when it comes to the, let's see what happens with the people who stormed the Capitol, right? Look at what happened there. Sedition is a crime that's punishable by a firing squad in this country.
Sedition is punishable by firing squad.
And all those people that went up there could have easily been charged with that, including Trump and all the organizers, all the congressmen, U.S. representatives that knew about that, right? So what's happening? They're not going to be charged.
There's an article in the morning paper. We're taking off on several runways, but this is a good thing. There's an article in the morning paper because right before we.
But it all ties in, Stan.
Right. But this ties in. It's about COVID and climate change. It's a op-ed. It's not. I don't even think it's an op-ed. It's a editorial piece. Maybe op-ed. I think it's out of the New York Times or something like that. But one of the phrases that it uses is sustained outrage. Sustained outrage. And it talks about the failure of communicating COVID. And they're trying to make the link or the parallel between COVID and climate change, that the climate change people don't make the same mistake that the COVID people made. And this is a systemic problem that goes across the board. I think of it as the arrogance of those who claim to be who are legitimately experts trying to convince people who don't know about what it is that they're trying to warn them about to be involved in a thing. And what they do, rather than to give information to people so they can make a decision, is they manipulate people to come to a conclusion. And that is unsustainable and does not help toward the effort. If you say something is insurrectionist, then it better be insurrectionist. Because you're trying to get people to move to a direction where there is an anticipated and an expected outcome. But when people don't see that, then the whole thing collapses. You have to make charges for what they are. So is the President of the United States, former, responsible for insurrection? Well, if that's the ultimate charge that everybody's trying to get, the answer's going to be no. So, why are they trying to get this charge? Simply because they don't like him or think that he did something wrong. People always fail to see the other side of any argument as though it doesn't exist. There's always going to be another side. If there are corrupt, dirty cops, they're going to protect themselves. We act like there aren't corrupt, dirty cops. We act like there aren't vicious individuals within the school system who think nothing of doing harm to kids. They shouldn't be there. And you and I have had this argument back and forth. They don't need to be retrained. They don't need They don't need reprogramming. They need to be fired, dealt with harshly, and feel the full weight of the society and the parents and the students that they're letting down. Same with cops. Cops aren't sacrosanct. They serve the general public. They work for a chief of police who is appointed by a mayor, who is elected by the people. They work for us. Well, the police... and as long as we treat it like they don't work for us and they need to be reviewed, we're going to get the same outcome. We are the people who they work for. They shouldn't be allowed to keep their jobs, period. Doesn't matter if they have a collective bargaining unit to represent them. The union is not sacrosanct. They don't trump the constituents who pay for the people who work for them. The argument is a false notion. As long as we stay in this argument about how did the car get stuck in the mud instead of getting it out of the mud, we'll continue to be stuck in the mud. These people need to be fired on the spot.
We need to know how the car got stuck, Stan, so it don't happen again.
We could do that after we get the car out of the mud.
I agree. But look, here's the thing now. I think a lot of people, too, are mistaken with police. The main job of the police is to protect business. It's not to protect citizens. And that's written. You know what I'm saying?
To protect life, limb, and property.
Business. That's their main focus.
That may be the main focus of the police, but let's say it is. Do the police still work for you?
They work for the business community.
That's a problem. That's a problem. If the constituents elect the representatives and the mayor, who is ultimately a representative in the executive branch of our government, and we let our police department get away with protecting business more than people, that ain't business's problem. It's not the police department's problem. It's a constituent problem. It's a constituent problem. You hire me to paint your house and I put polka dots on your wall because some outside entity influences me to put polka dots on the house, on the walls of the house you hired me to paint, and you're okay with that?
So Stan, let's go back to that question that person posed in the beginning. What exactly has happened after that finding? Because I haven't seen anything in the news.
It came out last night.
Yeah, but we haven't seen anything about any protests, any outrage.
We haven't had, there hasn't been time. I think there'll be some outrage probably today, but I mean, it's only 8:00 in the morning. This just came out. But as he says, where's the outrage? The outrage needs to be, in my never to be humble opinion, and I've said this year after year after year, the outrage needs to be at City Hall at the next public meeting. At city halls across the country. You can protest in the street all you want. We can protest. I predict that next year there will be a protest as people are outraged over something that has not happened yet, but will happen. And nothing will change. Because we like to protest. We like to say how angry we are, but we don't follow it up with real action. And police can be held accountable if the citizens hold them accountable.
So, we've spoken about this on this program. And I'm going to speak on it again. Because although I agree with you with the fact that the outrage should be at City Hall, the fact to me is that action alone is insufficient because there is no black and brown support. The outrage should be coming from all of us all over this country in support of that community. See, we don't have that. See how you spoke a few moments ago?
Who's all of us?
All of us, me and you and all the good people in this country, especially all the black and brown people in this country, right? But you see how casually you kind of just put that on somebody else without even thinking about it. You put it on City Hall. And by doing
No,
that,
no, 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 no. I don't. I'm not putting it on. No, 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 no.
Brother.
Well, I'm embracing it fully. I'm not putting it on City Hall. City Hall is the seat of political power. City Hall is a building that holds elected officials who appoint people who hire individuals. City Hall is the seat of the government. I've said on our program, and when I ran for office, there's hundreds of hours of me talking about this. We are the government. City Hall is not the government. That's where the people we hire or elect work on our behalf. When I say go to City Hall, I don't mean go down there and make demands on City Hall. I'm saying you go down there and you change the rules. The elected officials work for us. If we have bad cops can be fired, period. Well, the union, no. We negotiate union contracts. The contract right now in the city of Hartford is up for negotiation. There's a piece of legislation been presented by Josh Mitchum and Tiana Hercules to have the city council, to have the city lawyer,
to have the negotiations public,
to have the city lawyer give an update to the city council as to where it stands. That's all they're asking for.
But they're also asking that it be public, because those negotiations,
I believe the negotiations for every municipal union should be public.
Let's rewind back a little bit, Stan. Mm-hmm. Let's rewind back a little bit, right? First of all, I want to apologize to you if I made you feel uncomfortable, because I was not talking about you personally, right? When I said that you pushed that onto City Hall.
Well, that,
you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like me.
Well, I meant us. Okay. I meant us, individuals.
Us and you are two okay, go
individuals, because it's easy. See, now when you do that, you're putting the onus of that responsibility, your responsibility, on somebody else. Because our responsibility, not you, Stan, but people, our responsibility should be to figure out a way of how we individually can support that community. And then when that happens, it becomes a collective, because now we have a lot of people from all over the country calling. Some of them are going down there to support with the protests. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that. And the best protests that we've had, and the ones that we had the most change from, look at what happened with George Floyd. George Floyd's protest was not where he was killed. They had stuff over there. But some of the major protests that happened in other places in the country. And to let everybody know, all the bureaucrats, all the politicians know, we're not going for this. And change came about. Small changes came. But what happened that was even more important than the change, right? And I spoke about this. There has never been a change in the history of mankind without consciousness. And that's what happened. We built a consciousness. And now we're seeing the effects of that consciousness. And it's going to keep growing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we need, right? We need outrage, but we need a community outrage. The big community, not just that little community. And that's my point, Stan. It's not an attack on anybody, but it's just an observation to raise our awareness and our consciousness of how we process stuff. I'm going to give you something that outraged me and made me cry. This when I found out about this, I literally cried. Okay? And I'm feeling it coming out right now. Mm-hmm. Because it makes me angry. 82%. And I'm shaking when I say that I'm so angry. 82% of Hartford public school students are not reading on grade level. Now, we should be mad as hell about that, Stan.
Absolutely.
But we're going to let that slide too. Our phone should be ringing off the hook. Comments should be everywhere. Right? No parent should send their kid to school, and no parent should go to work in Hartford. And we come up with some demands, whatever they be. Get rid of the superintendent. Let's get rid of the mayor, whatever. But we should be very, very upset about that. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to accept that like everything else. because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm challenging our viewers and our listeners, our parents, our students. Let's do something about that. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot to say about that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to put that on Leslie, the superintendent. You know, we're going to put it on her right now because she's the one there. But I want to be clear about the fact that she did not start this.
Right.
It didn't begin with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It could end with her.
But like I said before, last week, she had a shot at the title. Now it's time for somebody else to get a shot. She took us through the most difficult time that this district, this city has ever faced. But she took it as far as she could. She's bringing in outsiders. This is a very common mistake that a lot of politicians and bureaucrats make. You can't bring in people from the outside to work in communities that they have no idea of. The people there, the culture, the norms. You can't do that. We have wonderful people here. Now they want to hire the substitute teachers. Here's a recommendation that came from an administrator and a parent. And I've seen it work. I've seen people like Sheldon Neal, who was a magnificent leader in the district, use this. Start hiring some of our parents. They make great paras, and they're leaders in the community. So they're not just going to be your leaders in school, they're going to be leaders in your community. And that's how you build community from within. You build it from within with what you have. If you're going to bring anything in, it's to shore up what you have, not to replace. Here's another example of this kind of stuff that goes on in Hartford that makes me angry. They closed down a couple public libraries, much to my chagrin. I was extremely disappointed, and so went many of the residents around these libraries. Now they made the library on New Britain Avenue the free center. And we have asked these people that are running the free center to allow us access once a week for a couple hours so we can have a chess club in the community. And they denied us. This is how I characterize that. We have white people who don't live in our community that run that place now, denying access to the people who have been here all our lives. And we have to take that. I don't go for that kind of stuff, Stan. And you know, I haven't heard the phone. I haven't heard any comments, you know, about what I said. 82%. You know, that's awful. You know, those are our babies. What is being done to fix that?
Well, I think that's a complex. The fix is complex. We've known for a long, as you said, this didn't start with Leslie. We known for a long time that this is an ongoing issue. So there's a very, very serious problem as to why this is happening and what the potential fix may or may not be.
So I just want to go back to the initial.
Yeah, the initial.
Well, the point. One more point.
Mm-hmm.
When these people in this little town, I think 3 of them were arrested or going to be arrested and charged, and the teacher was arrested. I guess he's been doing it for a long time. How many people knew about that before? So it's the same thing. We have a lady at the Board of Education named her maiden name was Natasha Durant. She's the head of personnel. There's a lot of people that know that she has hitting a lot of crimes. And what's being done about that? She's still there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, systems have a tendency to protect themselves, and the ultimate oversight committee is the constituents, and if the constituents won't step up to the plate, these systems that are self-sustaining, self-perpetuating, find ways to just keep going. They promote people up the food chain, out. They promote problems out. They don't fire. They promote up, and then they get into positions of power. Caller says here, what about the civilian review boards, etc. Hartford. Response, another caller a little later on, says in his over 6 years on the Hartford Police Review Board, community involvement was non-existent.
And I'll tell you why.
The only group to show up regularly was the Connecticut Communist Party.
Well, I'll tell you why. Have you ever been to one of them civilian review board
I've never been
meetings?
to one. I've seen one since they've been on Zoom.
Extremely intimidating for civilians to be there, because when an officer a lot of times is being heard, dozens or more officers show up to intimidate any witnesses and to intimidate the members of the civilian review board. Yes, brother. This is a very common practice. In civilian review board in Hartford has no teeth. They had a brother who was magnificent as a chair, a brother named Rick Torres.
He's the one that made the comment.
And he was holding them to the fire. And Luke disbanded them to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because he was going to make them look bad. He was going to force them to investigate some crimes. And this is why Luke and Thody are so close. You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing the same stuff.
Close though they may be, at the end of the day, we are the government. And like parents that let the kids run the household, if the citizens, if the constituents, citizens is a nice word, but I prefer constituent. If the constituents allow their elected representatives to run their government, then they have, as always, the government that they deserve. And it you know, it doesn't matter whether someone gets on the plane and hijacks it or not, unless those people are removed out of the seat. Now the hijackers removed the authorized individuals to fly the plane out the seat. You got 250 people on the plane. They're going to sit up there and let these clowns take them wherever they want. You will wind up where they take you, whether it's in a foreign country, into the sea, or into the side of a building, unless someone goes up there and stops them. It's the same thing here. So one could suggest that perhaps our government has been hijacked. Our police department has been hijacked. Our school has been hijacked. Our systems that are there to serve us have all been hijacked.
I don't agree with that at all. I think all these systems, Stan, are doing what they were meant to do. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to this brother this morning named Amos Wilson. Mm-hmm. He's a famous black scholar, educator. And he says that it's kind of foolish to think of intelligence as of only one way. You know what I'm saying? Because he went on to state that intelligence is based on your goals. And that's why a lot of us, black and brown folk, we're not successful, because we don't have any goals. So we don't have any goals to attain. We're not challenged, so we really don't know what our intelligence
sets those goals?
Is. You have to set those goals for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we're not taught that, Stan. We spoke about this in the program. When I was coming up,
I think some people aren't taught that, Lou. Everyone is not goalless.
You got to have a goal. You got to have goals, Stan, that you can measure whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's in your private life or in your business life. You have goals. I mean, you have goals. I don't know what they are, but you know what they are.
I have goals, absolutely. But I'm saying most people have some goal. Now, their goal might not be some grand thing in the scope of,
I think he was
of
talking
whoever
about,
it is that sets these goals by
think
outsiders,
right.
external comparison traps.
That's what he was saying. It's not the goals that other people set for you.
They have to be your own goals.
Goals that you set for yourself.
Right.
And it goes back to the same thing that we've spoken on this program many times. A lot of people, a lot of black and brown people were never told to go start your own business. We were always told to go work for someone, get a job. And that's building somebody else up.
Well, that's true, but that's recent. Because black and brown people used to own all their own businesses, so it's not like we never, we've never had it.
And I understand that, but the psychological transformation was to that, from going from owning to working and building someone else up instead of building our own.
Well, I think that we can start now.
A lot of people have.
We go forward rather than to keep looking back as to what we never had, this, that, the third. Where are we now? We're right here. So we need to move forward.
The reason that we spoke about that, Stan, is because, or the reason that I keep bringing stuff up is because all of the ancestors always say the same thing. If you don't talk about it, it'll repeat itself. We have to. That's how we guard against it. I taught my kids, when my kids were coming up, I taught them all about drugs. I taught them about all the drugs. Mm-hmm. So, and the idea was, Stan, that if anybody ever came up to them and said, hey, let's do some of this, my kids were always ready to say, no, my father said that's not good for me, but it could be good for you, so you do it. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? So nobody can pull the wool over our eyes. And it's the same thing with history. You know what I'm saying? We have to tell it as we move forward.
There's another school of thought on that point.
Absolutely.
I agree with what you're saying, but there's also the idea and the notion that everyone born learns to crawl, they walk, they run, they ride a bike, they go through life, they have friends, they get married, have children, they grow old, their children have children, and then they pass on. There's a cycle of life. Things repeat. They repeat generationally. And so it's not so much that history repeats itself as that there are cycles in history that man seems to be inclined to repeat. Civilizations come, civilizations go. The oppressed become the oppressors, and the oppressors become the oppressed. So 60 years ago there was a civil rights movement of sorts. For an age, now we have a whole nother age. We have an age of awakening, the age of Aquarius, the hippies. I mean, we have these cycles. And if you go back in time, you see the same cycles happening over and over again. So I think the best thing to do is, as you're suggesting, and as you do with your own kids, and hopefully other parents are doing, is to prepare those that you can touch to be ready when these cycles emerge. But I don't think that you're going to stop them from happening.
But you can choose not to be part of it.
Yes.
So, and I think that was his point. You know what I'm saying? That we have to learn to, and he's the same brother that said that, he asked the question, what is ADHD? He said, it's the word with a definition, right? And he said, why do white folks get to define it? Because we have our own definition. A lot of black scholars and psychologists and psychiatrists have their own experiences, with these words. You know what I'm saying? So they like to define it. They like to be part of that definition committee, if you will.
Well, the defining of words do mean things, but a cat is a cat is a cat. We could call it something else. I think we get hooked up in the semantics of things as opposed to dealing with what the thing is and what we need to do to either help it get better or to correct it or to if there's an issue or a problem, the problem is there. How one defines the problem is just ways to communicate to whoever you're hearing or whoever you're talking to, so you can communicate. But the problem is still there. You're not eliminating the problem with the definition. nor do you create the problem by definition. What we call a thing. So is ADHD or the symptoms or the manifestations or behaviors change because we call it something different?
No, it just leads to a different understanding, brother. That's all.
So will it lead to a solution?
Yes, because understanding sometimes, not all the time, leads to solutions. You know what I'm saying? Not all the time. But understanding things helps you process and move on. That's the idea behind that.
All right.
So, Stan, I've been calling around, asking politicians and people in the community who they're supporting for mayor. And I'm getting all kinds of answers. But I want to share something with the viewers and the listeners. I called the politician, and I'm not going to name him. You know, because
that's a good thing.
Because well, he asked me not to. He was a little bit embarrassed after I brought it to his attention. But I said, "Hey, who are you supporting for mayor?" He said, "Well, I'm not prepared politically to name anybody." And I said, "Hey, I'm surprised to hear you say something dumb like that, man." You know, because you should be involved with community people already, you know, having somebody and preparing that person and, you know, getting them ready. Somebody, you know. So he said, "Oh, no, that's not what I mean. You know, I'm politically, I'm talking." I said, "Yeah, but brother, are you supporting the party or the community? I'm just a little confused." So then he didn't answer for a minute, and then he said, "Well, how you know I'm not running?" So the names that I have heard so far.
If he's running, we should be known. What am I doing?
I'm not going to name him today.
Right. Anyone who is in political office right now, who is a serious political operative that we haven't heard is running, ain't running.
Well, let me put the names out there. Thea Montañez.
Yep.
Mali Rosado.
Yep.
Jimmy Sanchez. Nick Lebron. And then someone said to me that Bruce Rubenstein wants Eric Coleman to run.
Well,
I don't even know what that means. That sounded pretty serious.
That sounds like knuckleheadism on the part of whoever said that to you. But they must hold Bruce in high esteem. But Eric Coleman is I don't think that Eric's run is because Bruce deems it so. But go on.
You are one of the kindest people I've ever seen. The way you threw that towel in for Eric, I love that, man. So,
well, I got tough questions for Eric.
Well, here's what I said to this individual.
It's gonna be you know, but I'm simply suggesting
he may decide he don't want to run.
That's quite true.
You know what I'm saying?
That is absolutely quite true.
Because I don't think that, you know, just the idea of him running has been welcomed at all in any circle.
Oh no.
He hasn't received any welcoming. You know?
Depends on the circles you're in.
Okay.
No. He has been. There are a lot of people very happy at the idea that he may run, but as of right now, thus saith Stan. I don't speak for nobody right now but myself. As of right now, there's only one person, and that's the mayor. And some of the talk is that he's not going to run again. Then there's other talk that he might run again. However, right now he's the mayor, and no one has made an announcement that they are running. So as far as I'm concerned, No one's running.
No, didn't Eric make an announcement?
No.
What was it, an exploratory committee or something?
No, not even exploratory. He's thinking about.
Well, there was an article in the paper about
The
it.
paper said that, judge
That was a feeler. That was a
judge
feeler.
may run, judge considering. I ran for office 3 times. Once you make for mayor, I even got my stand for Mayor Sherla. Once you make an announcement that you're running, you have, I think, 3 days to file. Once you say that, you have to, otherwise you're done. So there are rules around announcing.
Oh, that's why he never.
There's rules.
He never announced.
He's not announced. No, none of these people have announced. When you want to run, and that's your intention, you go down to Secretary of State, you file your paperwork. That to me says intent. Other than that, it's talk.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't care who it is, talk is cheap. Put your money where your mouth is, and going down there and file. Till then, it's just talk.
Yeah.
Do an exploratory.
So Stan, give us 1 or 2 names of people that you would support for mayor.
That's good. Politically, I'm not ready to support anybody right now. I'm just messing with you.
That was a real political line here. That was the company line. That was right out of the Democratic rule book, man.
No, 2 people that I'm going to 2 people that right now.
If they ran, that you would consider supporting, not that you would support. People that you would consider supporting. It could be more than 2, Stan.
I would consider everyone that you mentioned.
Really?
Absolutely. And
why would you do that? It's the same old thing.
No. You said, and you emphasized, consider. Not who I would vote for. Why would you even
consider any of those people?
Because until I have heard what they have to say and answered the questions that I have, I would do myself a disservice for dismissing people unceremoniously who I have never heard from, simply because someone may not think they're qualified or don't like them. I think anyone that wants to run for office should, and they shouldn't not run because they might mess up the dynamics for other people. If you think you have something to bring it, and let us hear from you. Let us ask you the tough questions about your vision, because, the fool on the hill that sees everything and says nothing might be better equipped to provide us the answers we need. While everyone mocks the fool, he may be the one that actually has all the tools to make us whole.
That's what's up.
And so I don't know whether or not Thea can deliver. I don't know. I know what I hear. I don't know whether Molly might be that person, or Jimmy Sanchez. I have my own opinion about Jimmy, but I've never asked him about what his vision is. It would be unfair and just wrong to make assumptions about his vision without asking him. So I'd consider all of the people. Now,
so I have a follow-up question for you, Stan.
Mm-hmm.
This is great, man. So tell our viewers and listeners what these individuals have done up to right now that mirrors that consideration, not just from you, but from our community.
All of them have, at the very least, given themselves for public service, which is much more than other folk in the constituency realm have done, because they won't even go to a board of education meeting. The kids reading at 82% of children in Harper can't read on grade level, and they won't go to a board of education meeting. So at least these people are taking the slings and arrows. They're standing for something enough that we can delineate whether or not we're for or against them. They're taking some stand. We may not like it, but at least they're taking a stand. So we know where they stand. The ones that are out there I don't think any of them are kind of waffling around. I think they've all made it very clear where they stand. And so, the question I have this is my question, for everyone that's running for mayor is, and I've told 2 people this who wanted to sit down and let me know that they were considering. But every single person that's run for mayor, I want them to answer this question publicly, and I give them the question in advance so they can think on it. I don't want to ambush them.
Right.
Give them time to think about it. All right. So you're running for mayor. You need the people's vote to get in. How will you serve your constituents and the party at the same time when the party's demands are diametrically opposed to the constituents' demands? You're going to run for mayor of Hartford. Hartford is the 4th poorest city of its size in the country. It has deep problems. They're not problems that can't be solved. It's not Watts. It's not the west side or the east side of Chicago. It's Hartford. Hartford, the whole city could fit inside O'Hare International Airport.
Wow.
Which is an authority of the city of Chicago. All right. And runs pretty efficiently. So you can run Hartford efficiently if you want to. The people here can benefit like every single person on the property of O'Hare International Airport benefits.
That's an interesting point that you make, and I just want to comment on that real quick. O'Hare Airport is one of the most efficiently run airports in the country, one of the biggest.
Right. One might even suggest in the world.
But there's a lot of money at O'Hare, but they can't run Chicago. Up to date right now, they have about 450 murders. Today, up to today, 450.
It causes
so it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because I want to continue to illustrate that point that when there is money involved, it will be run efficiently. Not it can.
So that brings us to another issue in the middle of this issue. Because every system produces what it is designed to produce. O'Hare produces efficiency because it's designed to be efficient. You cannot have planes running into each other in the air, on the ground. People can't get bottlenecked. There has to be security. There's intelligence divisions, there's police, there's FBI, there's federal agents, there's foreign agencies in O'Hare International Airport. It's like a little world cosmopolitan. It's like a global entity. Yet yes. Outside, we have chaos.
Complete.
Now, could it be that just like there's money to be made at O'Hare, there's money to be made out of the chaos outside in the city? Are there federal dollars to fight crime as crime rises? So follow the money trail and you'll get your answer. But Hartford can be run efficiently. So if you're going to be mayor of Hartford, how do you deal with those dynamics? How do you deal with a city that just needs to inspire the young people? Where's a mayor that's going to inspire young people to lay down their weapons? There are people in this city that could inspire young people to lay down their weapons and the murders would stop like that.
I think a lot of it, yes, absolutely.
There's people who can do that.
I agree.
If the mayor can't do it, does he have relationships with the people who can? And will he let them accomplish that goal?
No. It's already a proven fact. No.
So these are the kinds of questions you have to ask the incoming candidate that wants to be mayor. Because if they can't do it, that means they're owned by the party. So are they a mayor? Are they the party's mayor? Is he just another cog in the political machine? Or is he the elected executive leader of the people? I think that's a fair question to ask anyone who's running for mayor. If they can't answer the question publicly or won't answer the question publicly, they are automatically disqualified
they should
from consideration. They should not run.
Yeah.
in my never to be humble opinion, I'm going to ask every single person running that question. I'm on record of going to ask that question, so it shouldn't be a shock to anybody.
So I think, first of all, Stan, I think that it is a terrific question, but I have an issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is, once again, is that it is not enough. Because if you ask me that question right now, I could answer that. But the follow-up question to that should be, and how are we going to measure that? Because now we need measurable goals. Whatever he says, how he's going to serve.
That's not a question for him. That's a question for us. How are we going to measure that? I know how I'm going to measure it.
Well, they have to give us a plan
on
how it's going to be done, and we'll be able to see if it's successful or not.
No. Everyone running should have a plan, because the people might not step up to the plate. But the legislative branch that we elect should be representing us, and we need to have a plan. That's the problem. We keep expecting people to get in with a plan that's going to serve us, and then we have no way to hold them accountable for the plan. When they break down, when there's corruption, there's no way to provide oversight, because we're floundering. What Hartford really needs is not better politicians. They need a better, greater constituent. And so
I don't agree with that at all.
I know you don't, but at the end of the day, we have the ones with the plan. If our communities, because we've had these ongoing conversations, they're coming full circle now. So if we are going to have agencies in our community which funders should have to bid and fight to give money to, then we have to be running the show. We're not running the show.
Well,
so
the reason that I don't agree with some of the stuff you say, Stan, is because, first of all, I'm not a finance guy. Right? So the finance director should have a plan that he lays out, not just for the city council and the mayor, but these hearings and these deliberations should be held on public access so the community can at least listen to what's going on. And if there's questions, they can do just like they do here. They can put a comment in and ask a question.
You're talking about union negotiations.
No, I'm talking about everything that happens, like the police department, right? We should know what their plans are to police this city. We should know how money's being spent and all of that. You know what I'm saying? I
would say to a degree that you don't compromise operational effectiveness.
We're not talking about how they investigate crimes and information on an ongoing investigation.
And deploying and all those kinds of things.
I'm talking about how is money being spent. What is your plan to police this city? They have that. They give that report to the city council and the mayor.
There should be, we have a public safety committee. The public safety committee in city council provides oversight of every expenditure of everything of the police department. The city council has oversight through the purse of every single dollar that is spent in this city. Every single department head should come before the city council in a public hearing quarterly to see where you are relative to the monies that have been spent. That is something that the city council can do. That by charter they can do this. But if the city council doesn't make those demands, right? So those demands come because the constituents make those demands.
Right. I agree.
Not because they should be doing it. When they should, every single, we are talking about this today, every single human endeavor that has to give an account for their own actions are always going to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative.
They're going to excel.
So you're not going to, and everyone has a tendency to take the path of least resistance. So how's your budget and money going? Good? All right. Well, I take your word for it. You're cool with me. And then there you go. That's not their job. Their job is to provide oversight. So there should be a full hearing.
So my point is this, Stan. I'm not a police officer. I don't know the laws. I'm not a fireman. I don't know procedures. You know what I'm saying? So we do need these people that we hire to come up with plans for our approval. You know what I'm saying? That's the point.
You're
Because
contradicting yourself with the statement, Lou.
Huh?
You contradict yourself with the statement. If
Okay.
you don't have the capacity, if I don't have the capacity to play chess, because I'm a checkers kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I ask you to give me the play so then I can sit and evaluate. I'm not in a position to evaluate your chess playing because I don't know anything about it.
No,
so
that's not-
if you don't know anything about policing, then how can you evaluate the plan that someone has? I think, to jump to the end of the chase here, we as constituents know what we want in our community. We want our community to be protected. We want the police to treat the people with decency and not act like occupying forces. We want them to treat young people whose pants are sagging and old people who are dressed for church the same. We want them to treat businesses with respect, but we also want them to treat the guy that's got a lemonade stand or the guy who might just be selling some gummies on the sidewalk the same. Everyone should be treated the same and with some decency. These are our overarching goals. We want quality of life to matter. We want suspects to be treated like suspects, not like enemies in a land that you occupy. There are some broad things that we can do. Now, we're not going to try and micromanage the police department, but we can see if we're getting what we want. And relative to what they deliver to us, they're compensated for. And we can have contracts that say if you don't do your job right, the impact on you is not going to be some sort of trivial thing. We're going to dock your pay. We're going to dock your time that you have for retirement pay. We can make those kinds of demands,
Right.
because we are the constituents. They're contracted to provide services for us. I don't care what they got in Los Angeles or California.
Mm-hmm.
Our work environment here is such that everyone wants to come here and be a police officer, not flee here and go somewhere else. That comes because we've got good leadership at the police department. Mm-hmm. You can create those kinds of environments if you have the right mayor. Those are the types of things that we can do. Most certainly, we have leadership in our community who have the capacity to articulate the things I'm talking about. You're one of them. So we could say to the superintendent and to the Board of Education, these are our long-range goals. You can get 6 or 7 or 20 or 30 community leaders, and you can tell them what we want, and we're going to be watching you. We're going to have a report card. When we find out you're not doing these things, you're not elected to be our friends. Mm-hmm. You're elected to do a job for the community.
Yes.
And friendship ain't got nothing to do with it. If you let our friendship get in the way, so be it. But we're here to hold you accountable. That's our job. And if you can't be accountable doing this, then just like every other employee, you got to take the long walk down the hall. Give me your badge and get out. Until that happens, there's not going to be any accountability. Because the real accountability comes from us. Us. So if I always reserve looking at the camera. That's why I never look at the camera, Lou. A little broadcast trick. If I have a representative of the African American Alliance standing before the Hartford City Council and he says something and what he has said is challenged because he's not necessarily a Hartford resident, understand that you're not talking to him. You're talking to me. All right? Understand that. And I take it personally. And I'm not going to get upset and write letters. I'm going to actively knock on doors to have you removed from office or make sure you never get elected again. That's a stern warning, threat, interpreted any way you want. Because we're the constituents. It's our city, not yours. You work for us because you're elected to office and you fought to get there. So if you don't want to represent us, fine. You don't have to do what we ask. You don't have to say yes or no. But you're going to hear from us. Mm-hmm. And when you hear from us, keep your mouth shut if you don't like what we say. Or respectfully respond. That's all. But don't make threats. Because threats are taken seriously. Mm-hmm. That's what we need. Mm-hmm. I do that to demonstrate to the viewers how you have to treat people who are elected. It's not personal. It's not personal. And they can be your friends. But friendship isn't why they're there. They're there to represent the constituents, of which there are many points of view. I'm not the only person that has a point of view. My organization is not the only organization with a point of view. There's people who disagree. So you can respectfully disagree. I respectfully disagree with the mayor. He's never been contentious. He's never been disrespectful. He's not, I don't know, I can't say for other people. And he's vehemently disagreed with the things that I put out. But you can still be respectful. I don't think he should be mayor. But but I'm just one guy. But he can respect the fact, well, Stan, I don't really care what Stan thinks. I respect where he's coming from, but at the end of the day, he ain't get me out of office. All right, so what's for lunch? And move on. And I think that's what we need. We need more people to speak up. Because if more people spoke up, then the mayor might say, you know what? Jason, this ain't gonna work. Because I got constituents out here calling for your head on a platter.
Well, Stan, I just want to say something, man, real quick. I didn't contradict myself when I was talking about that. Because we need information and education, just the same way. So when the police are putting out whatever report they're putting out about how they plan to do this and who's in charge it is and who's going to, and this is how the money, it's just information that they're putting out. And there's also accountability. So there's no contradiction in my words. And then the other thing, you know, about these politicians, Stan, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm not sure if the voting process as it is right now has ever or will ever work for poor people in this country, but particularly black and brown people. The voting process, the electoral process as it is, there's a lot of things wrong with it, right? How does the Electoral College get to pick who the president is?
We talk about Hartford City Council, not the president.
Right, but I'm just saying there's a lot of things wrong with the electoral process. All the way from the top. Y'all started at the top, Stan.
No. We started
all the way to the bottom.
All politics is local.
All politics is local, but they get their marching orders from the top, brother.
All politics is local.
And they get their marching orders from the top.
The elected at the top, Larson is elected by local people.
Yep. But they get their marching orders
elected by local people.
They get their marching orders. Larson gets his marching orders from the National Democratic Committee.
From the party.
Right.
The party
they
runs.
They get their marching orders.
Right, but the party is the party is the party. Right now, the party runs the government. The people don't run the government. The party runs the government.
Right.
So until the people step up to the plate and take back their government, the party will continue to run the government. They're not concerned about the people. They're concerned about the party. The people get what the party gives them. Someone has to run it. If the people aren't running it.
You know, when I think about that, Stan, I think that the only way to change a lot of this stuff is going to be through some type of revolution.
Oh,
you know, because they'll throw you in court, man, and tie you up for 100 years, man, in court. That's what they do. That's just the system has all these safeguards in place.
If you take them to court, they'll tie you up in court. But there's the court of public opinion, and public speaks every 2 years or every 4 years. But if you believe that the vote doesn't matter, then the public stays home. The party loves when the public doesn't come out to vote.
Yeah.
If you buy into your vote doesn't matter and it'll never change anything, they win. Because that's how they get into office and are out of office, by a simple majority vote. That's all it takes. It's not rocket science. It's not complicated. People make it complicated, but it ain't complicated. In Hartford, 7,000 people can put somebody in the mayor's office. 7,000. There are churches in this city got more people than that. You get more people to come to a concert in the park.
Absolutely.
The West Indian parade, the West Indian celebration, not this Saturday but last, and the Puerto Rican celebration this last Saturday had more people in the park than all those people in the park could go into the poll and elect the next mayor.
Well, I think between both of them, they probably had 100,000 people.
Absolutely. Well,
between both of them.
I would say about maybe 75.
Okay, well, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
You know, and with your numbers, that equals about 10 mayors. Enough people to elect 10 mayors is 7,000 apiece.
Well, 7,000, unfortunately, is all that come out to vote.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
You know, but I mean, but you only have 55 or so thousand registered voters in Hartford.
Yeah.
So there are more people than are registered to vote attended those two events.
I think that we should have a conversation about starting something different. You know, an organization that its sole purpose is to force these politicians to do whatever we want them to do. You know what I'm saying? With numbers. Listen, I learned this lesson a long time ago from Eugenio Caro. I just come out the army, man. I was full of juice. You know, I was young. You know what they say about people in the army like that. Strong back, strong arm, and a weak mind. You know what I'm saying? We're ready to jump into the fire. But Eugenio was an organizer extraordinaire, and he said to me, Luis, if you and I go to City Hall right now and we demand to see the mayor, they're going to tell us that he's not available, that we have to make an appointment, that we have to leave, and if we don't leave, they're going to call the police on us. All in that order. But if we go to City Hall with 500 people and demand to see the mayor, we're going to see the mayor. So there is, you know, a lot of good things that the community can do. But unfortunately, Stan, we have to keep putting out this information that we do every week.
That's why we're here.
In order to get it out there, in order to change, you know, people's way of thinking and elevate their consciousness and their awareness about things that are going on. You know what I'm saying? Look at what happened with that dude Colangelo. That dude was going to be brought up on. He was going to be fired. There was a lot of stuff going on with him, and he was allowed to resign.
Well, that's usually what they do.
There's something wrong with that.
There is.
So by Lamont, because I'm going to give you the definition of something so you understand. When I worked 30 years ago, I did a lot of basketball. Lots. I had a lot of kids.
That's how I met you.
And a lawyer came to me and gave me a little thing. He said, you should read this. And he talked about what it is to be, you know, when you conspire. What's the definition of conspiracy to us, right? As black and brown people, small things we need to understand. He said, you can be charged with the paper, the thing that he gave me, so you can be charged with conspiracy, right? If you're just a regular basketball player, and this dude over here, he's a big drug dealer. You never sold drugs, you're not with him at all. You're not with his crew, you don't, the only thing you do is play. So the drug dealer is funding the basketball league. You could be charged, your basketball team, you could be charged with conspiracy for selling drugs, and you never sold drugs, never participated, but the mere fact that you know that he's a drug dealer makes you a conspirator. So now, here's my question. If Colangelo committed crimes, why aren't the people that allowed him to resign or to retire, if he's found guilty of any of these crimes, will they be conspirators?
I don't know the law well enough, but the way you presented it, it would seem to me reasonable to at least explore that. But will you get someone who will be willing to do that? That's all.
All this stuff happens all the time. We have to demand that not be allowed, you know, to happen. If a person is suspected of committing a crime, you don't remove that investigation because they're resigning. Whether they stay on or they leave, you should continue with your investigation and find out if there was in fact a crime committed. So a lot of these things, we spoke about this early in the show, we need the community, right? But we need a council, a tribunal, a committee, I don't know what to call it, but we need a group that has the power, right, to decide what's going to happen in any one of these agencies. Because, see, here's the idea behind all of this, Stan, and this is where people get lost, especially employees and administrators of these agencies. You don't operate in a vacuum outside of the city. You're not different. You're not special. You're part of our community. And if you don't understand that, then you shouldn't work here. I don't care if you're a police officer, a teacher, a fireman, somebody who works in an office building that works for the city. Could be a Parks and Rec employee, sanitation. I don't care what you do. If you don't understand that every decision that you make, you're making it on behalf of this city, of us, of our constituents, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. So let's start with that.
I think that's a great place to start.
Let's start with that. Because a lot of times when the superintendent speaks, and not this one, all of them, when the police chief speaks, when the fire chief speaks, when these bureaucrats speak, there seems to be a wedge in between their words and the community. Like they're different. Like we're separate. Like it's us versus them. No, that's not how you resolve problems. That's how you create problems. We need to learn about energy and what bringing good energy and good faith and goodwill to anything that you do, how impactful stuff like that can be.
Well, what they say is very impactful when they treat the constituents in the manner that you're talking about. That is very negative energy. But you can't expect individuals who don't see themselves as part of the community to treat, and to communicate in ways that are encouraging and uplifting, simply because they're here. They don't consider themselves part of. They're more occupiers than they are part of.
And that's a mentality, Stan.
Right, but that mentality is allowed to be there.
It prevails and persists.
It's not. They're not going to change. So the change agent is us.
And
we're the change agent.
And I agree with that. So what I'm saying, brother, is that part of their education, right? Notice I didn't say training, because I've often said in this program that you train animals. Educate people. But so part of their education has to be that the understanding that they are members of this community. Even if you live out of town, while you're here doing your job, you're a member of this community.
But see, therein lies the 50-foot hurdle. They're members. We want them to be members of the community. We are hoping that they can be educated to see the value of treating us in a way that is respectful. And so we will be satisfied with the appeasement of their kindness toward us. But they don't really love us. So, being kind, I don't want you to be kind to me if you don't like me. Be straight up and be yourself. That way I know I can avoid you or how to deal when I'm around you. You ain't got to like me. Everyone ain't got to like me, right? That's cool. You don't want me in your restaurant? I'm not the guy that's going to come in there and sit down and protest and eat there. I got options. I go somewhere else and enjoy myself.
Spend my money where I'm not
wanted. Right. So if we have people that are working within the system that serves the people of Hartford, being paid for, in theory, by the taxpayers of Hartford. We know it goes beyond that, but in theory, the taxpayers of Hartford, because that's where they're coming to work. but they don't see themselves as part of this community. Oh, I don't really know anything about the Hartfordites. So you still live in Hartford? You need to move out of Hartford. Hartford's just a dumpster fire waiting to happen. I work there, and I'm there all the time. I know those people. Those people are not safe people.
Yeah.
They're killing one another, and they don't. So they are not ever going to think of themselves as part of the community. And our expectation that they are going to or will is fanciful. Now, if you put enough pressure on them, they will act in a certain way so that they're appeasing those who are calling for this kind of behavioral modification in my presence. But when they're out of my presence, they're going to act like they normally act because there's nothing there that causes them to be that way. First indication would be to move here.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to move here. When they never consider moving here, right? So that should be an indicator. So all of these people are appointed to office by people who are elected to office, and then those that are appointed hire people. So if you're appointing people who don't like us, they're going to hire people who think like them, because that's the normal thing. And then those people won't like us. And so how they see us matters. That's why if you go into the suburbs and they don't know you, you're not getting a job. How do we know how you're going to interact and treat our community? Mm-hmm. We're not hiring people from out of the community because we have a community. It's self-sustaining, self-educating, and self-policing. We don't let outsiders come here and police us. We don't let outsiders come here and educate us. We don't let outsiders come here and sustain us. We sustain ourselves. And in my never be humble opinion, until Hartford gets to that place, we're going to have some problems. And at the very least, we can step up to the plate, start coming to all of the meetings that we need to go to. If community leaders have to assign people to attend meetings so that there's someone there representing the community, that's what we'll need to do until the community becomes educated enough to start showing up at these events and asking questions. All right. Our Board of Education meetings should be just like they are in West Hartford and Simsbury. The place packed.
I've had this conversation with many administrators, and I had an administrator that lives in Southington, and he said in Southington, the parents run everything, the board, whatever school they're in. He said that in his school, they wanted to transfer like the vice principal or something, some staff member, and the parents weren't consulted. And, the people that made them moves, they were very, very close to losing their jobs. They had to apologize. They had to go through all kinds of changes, man, because the parents were demanding, and he said they don't play that. They can't do nothing. The Board of Ed, the principal, the schools, they can't make no like major changes or staff changes without letting the parents know and getting their approval. You know what I'm saying? Because they have armed themselves with information,
mm-hmm.
and information is power only if you use it. Otherwise, it's useless. It's like if you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's a lot of, and we've had our victories in Hartford.
That is true.
The community has had some incredible victories, and when they've been outraged enough about stuff.
But you gotta move.
So I just want to say this to you, Stan.
Mm-hmm,
you made a statement earlier,
mm-hmm.
and you were very animated. You were very terse in your comments. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you and all of our viewers and listeners to have that same energy when you contact the people in the city where we mentioned where that brother was murdered. I want you to contact them somehow and let them know you support them. Even if it's just writing a comment on Facebook to say, hey, we support you. The Hartford community supports you. But I want you to do that personally, because that's what black and brown support look like. It doesn't have to happen in Hartford for us to support something. You know, when the people of Puerto Rico were removing the governor, you know.
Now, those are constituents.
Stepping
up to the plate.
People all over the world, you know, supported that. There was a lot of support. When they got the Navy out of Puerto Rico, right? A lot of people supported that from the outside, because the people of Puerto Rico would have never been able to do it on their own. It would have just been suppressed. People arrested, a couple people shot, and it would have been over. But we had a lot of people from all over the world. So it's the same thing. It's about creating a conscience. You know, every time I think about this, Stan, it saddens me deeply that the people of Flint, Michigan still don't have drinking water. Where's the outrage in that?
There was a lot of outrage.
No, but they still don't have drinking water.
Right, and that's
so
part
we
of,
need.
that's
What
part
was that word that you used at the beginning of the show? Share that phrase with the audience again. Sustained outrage.
No.
We need that.
But that's the problem, Lou. And the article, if you read the article.
So what is it saying? That it's sustained outrage is not good?
The guy referred to a guy who's done study. And you cannot sustain outrage. It's unsustainable.
No, because it becomes normal.
No. No one wants to be. It's almost like fight or flight. You can't have that level. You know, people are done with COVID. They're done. You can't be. You can't be. Everything can't be a crisis.
Yeah.
There are crises manipulate behavior.
Yeah,
people respond to behavior.
That, but go ahead.
People respond to crisis in a particular way. There are a whole group of people who wait to the last minute to do something because it's the last minute. Oh, we have an emergency. There's also the lack of planning on your part. Doesn't declare an emergency on mine. Should call me earlier. Yeah, but I really need an emergency. No. I don't have an emergency. You do. And that's because of your lack of planning. I'm not going to enable you by coming to your aid now in the 9th hour when you knew all along. But before you would ask and perhaps hear a no, you're trying to manipulate the situation by asking at the last minute, making an emergency so that you can command a yes. You can't always have crisis. Crises need to be managed. So this is a crisis, that's a crisis, this is a crisis, that's a crisis, this is a crisis, that's a crisis. You burn people out, just like you burn people out just on a regular basis. So
I have a different submission to this conversation, Stan. And I think that we misuse words all the time. So a crisis is a crisis. It don't matter, you know, when it happens or whatever. You can't change that. But naming something that's not a crisis is a huge problem. We do that all the time. We use words to define other things to try to make a point. A lot of people use profanity. They curse a lot. You know, they call it, you know, colorful language. You know what I'm saying? But you can't say, like, when you're playing a basketball or football game, you can't say to your kids, or they can't say to themselves, I want y'all to get out there and kill them. What is that? What does that mean? Why would you use that? When they talk about a basketball game or a football game, it was a war out there. Really? How many people were killed? How many bombs were dropped? So I don't think that because people misuse words, it doesn't change the fact that something is happening.
Right. The context. Outrage is warranted, expected, and a natural byproduct of an event.
Okay.
But it wears off. Just like being afraid wears off. People might be afraid in the beginning, but after a while, that fear turns to courage. And then it turns to something else.
And anger takes energy, Stan.
Right, but outrage, things become normalized. It's one of the reasons I don't cover Mothers United Against Violence. I used to cover all of their events. But at some point, I made a conscious decision to stop because I'm not going to normalize behavior by making it something people constantly consume. Oh, it's just another event. Oh, it's just another. After a while, there's no need for outrage. It becomes an expectation. Well, and then once it becomes an expectation, you lose people. Does something need to be done? Yes. Outrage causes certain things. There was outrage over Floyd. They had the immunity thing across the country.
The qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity. Legislatures responded. Governors responded. Everybody responded. Now what's happening? They're rolling it all back now. They're putting it into contracts. And another year from now, it'll be right back where it was. Because people respond to outrage, but the response isn't something that was a natural byproduct of a process. It was crisis management. It was responding in the immediate need. And when you respond in the immediate need, once you get your bearings and you collect yourself, it's like, oh, what did we do? Oh my God, we got to undo this.
So let me say this to you, Stan, and to our listeners and viewers.
And it's a negatively impacts the intended outcome of the people who really had the problem, in my opinion.
So here's the thing, brother. Being angry takes energy.
Mm-hmm.
If you were really, really angry, really angry, and you sat down in your sofa, I guarantee you that you will fall asleep. Because you can't sustain it. You could only be angry for so long before you need a rest.
Yeah.
Think about being angry, Stan, how you felt, how tense you were. And your faces, you making these faces and you're making a fist and you're tight. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How long can you do that? It's like running. Think of anger like this. Running as fast as you can for as long as you can without stopping.
Fight or flight.
How long can you sustain? And that's what happens with sustaining outrage.
It's unsustainable.
Anger or outrage is anger expressed, right? So now, how long can you do that? So what we have to do is learn to differentiate with what's a real crisis that we need to stay on for a long time and what's nonsense that's masked as a crisis or somebody's naming it a crisis, but we can see for ourselves that it's not a crisis. And it's the same thing that I speak about every week. It's like self-identifying, right? It's being able to discern things for yourself. Not what people are telling you. You know what I'm saying? And that's a skill. That's a skill. You have to practice that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like exercise, right? You have to practice discipline, in order to be able to go and do whatever it is that you're doing. So learning to identify things for ourselves is going to go a long ways into allowing us to process these things in ways that are healthy for us as black and brown people. So that's what I would submit to this conversation in terms of outrage and, the ability to sustain outrage. I think we need to understand what that is and, so we can, like I said, be able to process it in a healthier way.
Yeah, I think it all works together if it works together. You need the spark that ignites the fire, that sustains the warmth. And so it would seem to me that there was outrage over the initial incident, which put forth the chain of events that wound up being where these guys were said to be operating within the parameters of their job, and therefore, I don't know how you shoot someone in the back when they're running from you and they're supposedly drunk and high.
And you're found innocent because you fear for your life.
Right. So
now you're afraid of people running away from you.
Right, you shouldn't have the job. So
well, those people are a huge threat to our community, man.
Well,
because they get away with all kinds of stuff.
Right. And so at this point, the outrage needs to be turned to a solution where there is real change on the municipal level. These are municipal police. These are not federal officers or federal agents. They work for the town. They work for the police chief. And ultimately, the chief works for the mayor. I mean, there's some separation. You know, state this, that, and the third. But he works for the mayor, or appointed by the mayor. He works for the people. The mayor is elected by the people. All of these situations happen in towns where there's city councils who have oversight of all these things. These are not federal issues. These people work for you. These are local issues, and they need to be handled in a local way. You know, the old notion of protect the nest. If everyone protects their nest, then the whole community will do well. You can't protect. I can't come to your house and tell you how to run your house. But you can run your house the way it should be run. I can run my house the way it should be run. She can run her house the way it should be run. And together as a community, when we go someplace, we go as a united front. So we protect the nest. Our city, their city, is a nest. Now, if they have rogue cops, the capacity to take care of those cops should be no different than turning on water. But they found a way to cut the water off, to crimp the pipe, whatever the case is. And the constituents no longer can command the service they need because they've got a contract that protects them from all kinds of changes. This is why the police contract is so important, because there's things that are baked into the contract. So if you want to watch what they're doing by making sure that they have cameras on, the contract prohibits the use of cameras for the term. So now you can't do that. You might pass legislation. There might be an ordinance or a resolution that says that the police department shall do. But then the contract says, well, changes on personnel and operations must be approved through contractual obligation, this, that, and the third. So they ultimately can't do it. Mm-hmm. So we have things that are built into teachers' contracts, public works contracts, police contracts that protect the employees and their group from having to do particular things that the constituents may want done. And it's ironclad. So there's a workaround. That's why these things are done in closed door meetings, because the constituents might get upset if they found out what was going on.
And that's why we got to push that all those contract negotiations be held in public, Stan.
I believe they should be.
And so citizens can see the process, be educated in the process, and make comments or recommendations in the process that's going to benefit the community.
Right. I don't think that, as a practical matter, I don't think that citizens should be able to make comments along the way.
No, I'm saying like when we're viewing it, like if it's like when you, like this program,
yes,
citizens can make comments on
absolutely,
and that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely,
if the process is going to be filmed, so citizens can view it. Then when we hear or we see something that we don't agree with or that we don't think is right or we agree with, then we can comment and say this is a good idea, or this is not going to work because of this, whatever.
I absolutely agree.
In all the union contracts, I would also add, brother, that any union contract has to be done with the interests of the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not of the union members.
Well, I don't,
because that contract needs sustainability, and if these contracts are hurting our city, then we have to revisit them.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because what's the use of all of our unions having great contracts,
and we can't
pay them.
Right, because it's unsustainable.
Right.
Well, see, if these negotiations happened in a environment where everyone was involved, where there was some real transparency, and I don't mean citizens micromanaging, but
yes.
but the agents who negotiate on our behalf have to know what we want. Are they negotiating on our behalf? Are they negotiating on the party's behalf? Are they negotiating on the mayor's behalf? Because the mayor is technically the only person who can really, he's the chief negotiator, but he can delegate. All right. So there should be a means by which the constituency can say, look, we don't want that. If that's going to be the cost, then we'll find someone else that could do the work.
Exactly.
Period. Let them go. Let them go. We don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll redo this thing. And so that's if it was open, then we could disagree and they would know about it. Now that's not to say that our disagreement is the law. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we're ignorant about something.
Right. And we need to be educated.
We need to be educated. So explain. If you explain to us, then we can say, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I understand now.
And
well, my
what
goodness,
I mean.
if we didn't, now that we know, go for it.
Now you understand.
Right.
Why
We're willing to pay more in taxes to have that added service because it's going to help us. But they don't want to have to do the heavy lifting. No one wants to explain anything. No one wants to be able to defend their position. They want to do all of this stuff without any interference. So they get deeper and deeper and deeper into the back room where there's no transparency. There's no anything. And you have where we're at. But in a city like Hartford, where folk are silent and don't speak up and are complicit and go along to get along, you can get away with this stuff.
Well, I think that also along the lines of the questions that we're going to ask some of these people that are planning to run for mayor, I want to know why they supported Luke Bronin.
That's a good question.
Right? The first time and the second time.
That's a great question.
You know, because they're all the Democrats. Can't nobody run. Can't nobody say, I didn't support Luke. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know what justified the support the first time. And then when we seen the type of guy he was, because he's a liar, right? Because, listen, he went public and said, I'm not running I'm not going to leave this position here. I'm not going to leave being a mayor to run for anything else. I'm committed, blah, blah, blah. And what's the first thing that he do? Turn around and try to run for governor.
Right. Now,
if that wasn't enough for people to see the character of this individual, then that's your problem.
Well, here's an even bigger problem. Now, a lot of people got behind the mayor on the understanding that he would not run for higher office. Right? So, if that was a condition, then the propensity or the chance of him running must have been there before they cut the deal. So I would say that there's nothing about the mayor that he's doing right now that he hasn't always been about. He's not changed. He's the same guy he's always been.
Why would he?
For better or worse. I'm the same guy I've always been.
For better or worse for us.
Well, that's true, but I'm saying
for better for him.
As a human being, I'm the same. I'm the same now as I have always been. For better or worse, with my flaws and my pluses. The mayor is no different. So, how is it that you are now taking a position that you don't agree with the mayor when he's the same guy he was?
Same policies
before. How
everything.
can you see it now but didn't see it then? To me, that's a huge problem, and that has to be explained. If you supported him then, because I knew. You knew. We were saying these things before he got elected the first time.
All along, yeah.
So how is it that now all of a sudden you'll see it? How do you explain that? That needs to be explained, because that's a big red flag for me.
So here's where I get completely confused, Dan. Because I recognize my limitations intellectually. But if that's the case, if that question deserves serious examination on the answers that these people are going to give, then why would you, Stan, give any one of these people that are running for mayor any consideration at all? If you know that they're, what's up with that?
Well, I think the answer to the question that you pose is the question. It's your word that you use. Consideration. I want to hear an answer. Right. You have to consider. If you don't consider, I would give no consideration to my daughter to be mayor. There's no consideration. There are people who I would not consider. They're not qualified. Period. They're just not. Now, there may be a good reason why. The reason could be, look, I'm going to be straight up. There was pressure from the party to support. If I didn't support, then they weren't going to support me for re-election. There were some things I had in the pipeline that I wanted to do for the community. I got this center money. I got this center money. All of that would have been jeopardized if I moved against the party's choice. That's an answer.
It's not a good answer.
It's not a good answer, but it's an answer. There's a rationale and a rhyme and a reason.
According to the person giving it, but not to us.
Right. So
as long as we understand that, I'm good.
Right. Now I can move forward. I don't like that answer. I think it's a soft answer, but at least it's an answer. It's better than, I think over time the mayor's changed. No, disqualified. No longer no longer can I consider you. So you're using the word consider right now. I haven't asked these questions. I'm asking the questions like now, you and me, and we say so publicly. So, but I haven't asked them.
So here's the reason for my quagmire.
Mm-hmm. Are you considering any of these people?
No,
none of them.
But I'm gonna tell you why.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you. Let me make my point here, or the reason for my, just being a little bit confused. Why don't you apply the same philosophy that you apply to the teachers who have been, not doing their work? They should be fired. So why don't you apply that same philosophy or viewpoint to these politicians that you yourself know they have been mediocre at best, all of them?
Because
why can't you apply the same mentality that they don't deserve consideration and they shouldn't be allowed to run for any public office based on their report card now?
No, because it's a political position. I only get one vote. See, I don't think that I am the end all to be all as to whether or not a person can or should run. The only thing I can do
for yourself.
Right. The only thing I can do is determine, do I want to vote for them?
Right.
I only get one vote. The political process means that there's going to be people who disagree with me also putting forth candidates. So I want to ask the candidates the tough questions so that everyone can hear their answer. If I disengage, then one of them going to be elected, but they'll be elected without having given any kind of response. Someone's going to be elected. Someone's going to become my mayor, whether I vote for them or not. They're going to be the elected official that runs the city.
Yeah, for the city.
They don't stop being mayor because I don't like them. They don't stop being mayor because I don't think they can do the job. Who cares what I think? I'm just one guy who gets a vote. I get to cast my vote. But I'm in a very unique position where I can ask questions publicly Everyone is not in that position.
Mm.
I think as somebody who's in the position that I am in, I can do that service for my fellow constituents by asking the tough questions, not like some of the reporters from the Current who ask weak, soft questions. So what is your stance on community and regional transportation? Who cares? They ain't nothing to do with living in the city of Hartford. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Are you in favor of the Yard Goat Stadium? That might be a little bit more deeper. How do you feel about fixing up the arch? Do you think that the Y should be turned into a homeless shelter? Even these things, they're not issues that impact. If you understand how a person processes information and delivers answers, then you can apply some of that stuff to the decision-making process that they'll have going forward. Are the decisions they make going to negatively impact the community or positively impact the community? Are they going to negatively impact the party or positively impact the party? Is there common ground between the two? Are they going to seek common ground? Will they stand up for you? Will they resign office before? These are character things. And you can't know that if you don't have conversations with people, and you're not going to have that opportunity to have deep conversations. So you have to ask the right question at the right time. And it takes, people need to be formulating their questions now.
Right now.
For next year's mayoral conversations. Because, see, if we have, to take a page out of Lou's book, if we have these conversations ongoing now, I won't be the only one asking these questions. In fact, a constituent in the community might ask this question long before I get a chance.
That's right. Because it's already out there.
Because it's out there. That's our job.
And that's the beauty of this show and all the shows that you do. We put out incredible information. So I'm going to put this out right now. Abracadabra. I want Luke Bronin to resign within 30 days. Shout out to Eugenio Caro. Shout out to Glenn Malden over at the Y for doing an incredible job. Shout out to my brother, Cleve Royster, down in Virginia. Cleve, I hope you and Jackie are doing great. And to our community, once again, we are in the age of the Great Awakening. We don't have to live in ignorance anymore. Every step that we take forward from now on must be done in intelligence. Please practice black and brown support for each other. And to all the people out there, to all my black and brown folk, brothers and sisters, when you see a brother or a sister, greet a brother or a sister. Let's start showing some real love to each other out there so we can build strong communities from the inside. And to all the people out there who support me, who support my viewpoints and my business, I am grateful for the opportunity to serve. Thank you, everyone. Have a great, great rest of the week and live your best life because we can do that. Peace, family.
All right. Well, we're going to go out with a special. Last Saturday? I think it was last Saturday. Last Saturday or last Sunday. Maybe it was last Sunday. So much happened so quick.
Yes.
Over at Camora's Cultural Corner, they had a nice event.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Saturday. No.
It was Saturday.
The play was Saturday.
That was Saturday.
And then they had another event on Sunday. It was also quite spectacular. They had a vending event, a cannabis event.
Okay, well, they have that. But the play.
Once a month. The play was spectacular.
The play was I'm going to show you all the play.
Nice.
So we're going to do that right now. So we'll go out with the play. It was Negra, 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 Soy. And it was a nice experience over at the first time I've been over to her space since the outdoor space there. So enjoy this, and we will see you next time. So stick and stay.
And real quick, Stan, for all the folks listening, there's a Puerto Rican artist and singer who's passed. His name was Ismael Rivera. He wrote a song called Las Caras Lindas de mi Gente Negra, the beautiful faces of my black people. Y'all should listen to that song. It's extremely beautiful. Peace, family.
All right. Okay, so enjoy this, my friends. We will see you next time. Now, Monday, Jonathan Small's here. Wednesday, Luis Delgado and Dr. Maya Bowen. Friday, of course, it's Cleo Duke Wright. And, for those of you predisposed and like Bible study, you join me nightly at 10. All right, so we will see you next time. You all have a great day. This is W4 News Special. All right, so you all stick and stay. We'll be seeing you soon.
Welcome. Thank you all for being here, for showing up for all of us, and especially for our community members who are going to be performing tonight. My name is Colleen Neme Fitzgerald. I am the director of this performance. I'm a part of Kukle, Afro-Feminist Arts Collective, and so this one person is here with 3 others around me, Julia Cohen Ribeiro, Lisa Lasso, Jasmine Sanchez, my collective members who are in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and watching somewhere from where they are. So I want to thank all of the people who have supported to make this happen, to create this oasis here. They're all named inside of the program, so like I said, it takes a village really to make something like this happen. Jasmine Agosto from Sage Seeker Productions, co-producer, thank you. Kamora Carrington of Kamora's Cultural Corner, our host. Thank you so much. And while I'm standing up here, thank you to my family, Pablo, te quiero. To my mom for coming out, to my dad for coming, for helping to build this place. Kukle is a Pele word meaning all of us together, every single one of us. And as we were getting ready to create this performance together, me and the 10 women who are participating, Linda Martin said, I'm coming to this because I want to see what happens when Black women of very different backgrounds, Kukle, come together, all of us together, every single one of us. So that's what we're going to see tonight, and that's what we're going to hold space for tonight. I just want to give a few quick words about anyone who's never been to something like this before, to an arts, culture, theater, performance event. For those of us who are of African diaspora, art is everything that we call life, right? And so it's really, really, really important that we show up for these moments, that we celebrate, that we use arts as a medium for our healing, for our community making, for our kukle. Yeah? So thank you so much for being here today. And if it's your 3rd, 4th, 5th, 40th arts and culture event, thank you for coming as well. And without anything further, let's see who we came to see tonight.
Tenía 7 años apenas 7 años.
Hi,
My name's J. Stan McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
No llegaba a 5 siquiera. De pronto unas voces en la calle me gritaron, ¡negra! 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 ¡Negra!
My name is Linda Payne Martin. Negra, negra, negra soy. You look at me, you saying, who is she? What has she got to say? I will recite a poem by Sonia Sanchez, by Nikki Giovanni. I was born in the Congo. I walked the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that glows only once every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine and perfect light. I'm a bad woman. I sat on a throne drinking nectar with Allah. I got hot and sent the ice age to Europe to cool my thirst. My eldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my birth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. For his birthday, when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built Newark, and I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a soft summer day. I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Men intone my loving name, all praises, all praises. I am the one who would save. I sold diamonds in my backyard. My bowels deliver uranium. The fillings from my fingernails are semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip that even my errors are correct. I sailed west to get to east and had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned, giving gold across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal, that I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly. I can fly like a bird in the sky. So you want to know who I am? I am Linda Payne Martin from Hartford, Connecticut. Negra, negra, negra soul.
Hello everyone, my name is Casey Stewart. Negra, negra, negra soy. Journey. My life journey starts at age 8. I recall my mom baking potato pudding, fire on top, fire on bottom. When my mother migrated to the US, the bacon smell disappeared. Journey on. My great aunt, this tall, thin lady, smoke and drink her white rum. I enjoy getting my hair combed by her. We form a bond. I often complain to her about my problem, now age 12. The smell of my mom baking was replaced by my great-grand aunt cooking. It smelled great. But what did a 12-year-old know about taste? I knew the smell of food. Stew fish, boiled yam, dumpling, and banana. My favorite. Adult never asked what I like, what I thought, but my Uncle Pat, the taxi driver of the family, talk about me and my brother, talk about how we'll be in the US soon. Once he talked about snow on the TV, it was snow. It was cold, and I believe he also mentioned school. Journey on. At the age of 12, I learned to clean, cook, shop at the market, take taxi, comb my own hair. We need to prepare you, young people, for the life journey, for moments of pain, the journey of what would be the moral nonsense of the middle child. That is that I may be comfortable together with you, the mutual fate both of you and me have together. All in all, this much is true. You have me and I have you. Journey on. For sure, life journey continue. My name is Jocelyn Marie Cerda, y negra, negra, negra soy. Cinnamon cracks in the heat of the sun, smells of Egyptian musk, visions of oro, full lips kiss the cheek of ancestors. Pides la bendición, ask for a blessing, when you arrive and as you are leaving. Bendición. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hoped for. You're everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. Memory. A group of black girls sing, skipping in unison on the sidewalk in the heat of the sun. Pure joy shines on their skin. You are so beautiful, they shout in chorus. They already know how beautiful they are. They disappear. The noise and heat of cars fill the air. Memory. In the pews, alabemos al Señor, we're praising God. Let God take away your pain. Let him take away your worries. Surrounded by women and men dressed, covered in white, head to toe. I look to my mother, her veil reaching her back, skirt grazing the floor, wearing white. She looks so holy. I begin to feel my pain, and tears begin to roll down my face. She looks down to me. Why are you crying? I look to her, and I respond, I am so dark. Why don't I look like you? Hi, Jocelyn. And she just waves me away. You are so beautiful to me. Memory. Let me do your hair. My cousin is looking right at me, and I think, maybe, just this time, should I let her? Today's gonna be the day. I look at my cousin's almost porcelain skin, her hair long, black, and straight. Never let me do your hair. Can't you see? Memory. He glistened like the night, obsidian, piercing eyes, body like a god. I really like you, I say as we lay down. And I like you. He hesitates. Our children would be too dark. Our children will be beautiful, I think. And he went for someone lighter to heal his pain. You're everything I hoped for. Memory. My blackness came up in many conversations. The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. Yes,
But you are not black, my dear. I looked at our skin, similar in complexion, my hair curled, theirs in braids down their back. If I am not black, then what am I? You're not black, you're Puerto Rican. You're not black is different. You speak Spanish, it's not the same. ¿Hablas español? Mírala, ella habla español, pero no parece boricua. You sounded Latina on the phone. But I am though. Y soy dominicana también. Y también boricua. Sí. Ah, that's why your Spanish sounds funny. Memory. We were walking in the sun all day. I felt hot, my skin like charred, dry cinnamon. Ugh, Jocelyn, you're black. The click of her tongue echoed. I looked at her skin, barely changed since the start of our walk. No te metes en el sol. Don't stay in the sun or you'll get too dark. I looked at her. I am black. I claimed it as I started walking up the sidewalk, and I didn't stop. I never talked to her again. You're everything I need. Memory. Tears roll down my face as I sing to myself in the mirror. I'm trying to find the beauty. I lost myself too many times. I am trying to see me. I touch my piel como canela, my hair puffy like clouds. Hablando mi español como yo lo hablo, ¿entiendes? I am beautiful, can't you see? I am everything, everything my ancestors ever hoped for. I am everything I will ever need. We are all we need. We are all beautiful, can't you see?
My name is Diane, and the name of my poem is No, 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 No by Maya Angelou. No more two-legged beasts that walk like men, play stick figure with their crusted asses in nappan coats, stretching mouths to receive burning tears on splitting tongues. Just give me a cool drink of water before I die. No, the gap-legged whore of the eastern shore enticing Europe to come in her, but turns her back to me. Who stroked the coal that stroked the ships, which brought her over to the cemeteries of my many brothers. No, the cocktail afternoons are what I can do in my white lady pink world. I let your men cram my mouth with their striving hate. I swallow after. I let your mammies steal from my kitchen. I chuckle at the chins of your topsy-turvy picnics. Now what can I do? I'll never be black like you. Hallelujah. No more the red shoe priest riding palanquin in barefooted children country. The plastered saints gazing down beneficiary on kneeling mothers picking undigested beans from yesterday's shit. I have waited, toes curled, hat rolled, hearts and gentle in hand, on back porches of forever, in kitchens and fields of rejection, on cold marble steps of America's white outhouse, and drop seats of buses in the open fires of war. No more the dream that you will cease hunting me down in swamps of fear and return to embrace your own humanity, which I am. No more the hope that raises insults, which mercury slides over your tongue, with mercury slide over your tongue will be forgotten, and you will learn the words of love. Mother, father, sister, brother, lover, friend. My hopes dying slowly, rose petals beneath an autumn red moon will not adorn your unmarked grave. My hopes lying quietly, a dark pool under the trees will not carry your name, and it's for good for sure. And what a pity that has folded upon itself an old man's mouth whose teeth are gone, and I have no pity. Thank you.
My name is Ashley Miklas Innocent. Negra, negra, negra soy.
Hello and good evening all. My name is Sonyetta Retaria Talea Strickland. Negra, negra, negra soul. If I were a butterfly, I'd fly around town, exploring the world's ins and outs, floating and fluttering, up and down, over and under and through. It would be so much to see and so much to do. I'd spread out love, power, hope, strength, and faith, all about, all around. We need this love. I let you know God created me. God gave me these radiant, brilliant, illuminating colors, colors of wisdom, power, and room for change, known as metamorphosizing from the insect, caterpillar, and or amphibian change. I have a family, many more of changes, and lots more love, knowledge to share. So, see me, beautiful, changing the world. See me, trimmed with illuminating colors and brightening up society. See me, wise and graceful. See me, fabulously wonderful queen, fluttering through life's everyday changes. See me, courageous conqueror, floating through a cool breeze, beautiful flowers, and beautiful trees. See me, the tranquility of life. See me, and know that we are one of the most beautiful flying through on the borrowed time. We are royalty making a change. Time. We make change. See me, fly, soar. If I were a butterfly.
Hi everybody, my name is Danessa Pedroso. Negra, negra, negra soy. I'll be reading a poem by Nancy Morejon, Mujer Negra. Todavía huelo la espuma del mar que me hicieron atravesar. La noche no la puedo recordar, ni el mismo océano podría recordarla. Pero no olvido el primer Alcatraz que divisé. Altas las nubes como inocentes testigos presenciales. ¿Acaso no he olvidado ni mi cosa perdida, ni mi lengua ancestral? Me dejaron aquí y aquí he vivido. Y porque trabajé como una bestia, aquí volví a nacer. Y a cuántas epopeya mandinga intenté recurrir. Me rebelé. Su merced me compró en una plaza. Bordé la casaca de su merced y un hijo macho le parí. Mi hijo no tuvo nombre. Y su merced murió a manos de un impecable lord inglés. Anduve. Esta es la tierra donde padecí bocabajos y azotes. Bogué a lo largo de todos sus ríos, bajo su sol sembré, recolecté y sus cosechas no comí. Por casa tuve un barrancón. Yo misma traje las piedras para identificarlo, pero canté al natural compás de los pájaros nacionales. Me sublevé. En esa tierra toqué la sangre húmeda y los huesos podridos de muchos otros, traídos a ellas o no, igual que yo. Ya nunca más imaginé el camino a Guinea. Guinea, era Benín, era Madagascar o era Cabo Verde. Trabajé mucho más. Fundé mi canto milenario y mi esperanza. Aquí construí mi mundo. Me fui al monte. Mi real independencia fue en el Palenque y cabalgué entre las sopas de Maceo. Solo un siglo más tarde, junto a mis descendientes, desde una azul montaña. Bajé de la sierra, pero para acabar con capitales y usureros, con generales y burgueses. Ahora sí, solo hoy tenemos y creamos. Nada nos es ajeno. Nuestra, la tierra. Nuestras, el mar y el cielo. Nuestras, la magia y la quimera. Iguales míos, aquí los veo bailar alrededor del árbol que plantamos con el comunismo. Su pródiga manera ya resuena. Thank you.
My name is Gail Lumpkin, Barlow, Shepard, Wallace, Martin, Hunter. I have as many names in my family as I have colors in my clothes. You know, as beautiful as this world is, God almost destroyed it one time. And remember Noah? Anybody remember Noah? Come on, hands, let's see. Remember Noah? You know? He said, bring me the animals 2 by 2s. He said, bring me the elephants and kangaroos. He straightened it up. He put a rainbow in the sky. And he said, never again. But now, look where we are now. Wake up every morning, television, radio, what do you hear? This one shot, that one shot, this one stabbed, this one dead. We're killing each other, and why? Why? What now? What are we gonna do now? Anybody know why? Oh, I know why. Why? This little book we value more than life because it reads all about Jesus Christ. When the way gets so dark, you don't know what to do, just trust in him and he will guide you. When you are sick and suffering with pain, just call him. Call on his name. And for us all, he died a shameful death to prepare a place for our souls to rest. But in the grave, he did not stay. For he arose on that day we call Easter Day. But it's now. It's now, people. It's now. It's now when times are tough for us to stop all the garbage and stop so much fuss.
My name is Terry Ann Williams. Negra, 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 soy. I'll be reciting a poem by Afua Cooper called At the Center. Today, doves flew from my head, and my hair grew. The longing is gone from my body, and I'm filled with peace, perfect peace. No longer shall I speak of electrocuted poets, or the ones who inhaled gas until they danced in the dizziness of death, but of brown women who turned the soil with their hands, making vegetable gardens and tending fruit trees. Today, I went into my storehouse, selected the choicest oils, and anointed my body. Wrapped myself in the rarest cloth of a deep wine red, stood at my front gate, and words poured from my mouth in flaming chants. Today, the craftsman has come to make a design for me of a woman sitting in deep repose, with doves flying from her head. He has made all the pieces, and they fit well together. I shall hang it at my window for all the world to see, at the center.
Good afternoon. Last but not least, hi, my name is Eula Dotson. Negra, 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 soy. I'm speaking to you this afternoon because our history is in trouble. And if you don't know your history, you might get lost. I want to share some of my personal experiences. I had the opportunity to visit Gambia, Senegal, and Ghana in West Africa. This was one of my goals after attending the World's Fair in New York City.
It's been a long time, so the older people know that there was a World's Fair back in 1964. You know, that's been a long time ago. And I visited the African Pavilion, and I was hooked. I started to wear my hair braided. I used to wear kente scarves, kufe hats, collected African arts, and studied my history. If you go to my house, you think you were in a museum, because I got all kinds of stuff. I can tell my story. I also visited the door of no return in the slave castles of Senegal and Gambia, which were really nothing more than holding dungeons for captured Africans, stolen from their village in Ghana and Senegal. It's just so hard to imagine. It's hard enough when a kid gets lost in the neighborhood. But can you imagine you're in your village and you're minding your business and somebody comes along and grabs you and takes you to the door of no return? It's a heartfelt feeling to be standing in those doors and the sharks are there waiting, because they know some people said, before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And people jumped off and the water's bloody. So I want to share with you this afternoon a special word called Sankofa, which originated in Ghana in West Africa. It means to look back. One of the symbols is a bird. This is a Sankofa bird. As you see, he's looking back. And sometimes we don't want to look back, but we need to look back. Ladies, Sankofa.
We have to look back. We have to look back.
People, what do we need to do? We have to do what? And we need to take that message when you leave here today. This is not just a performance, this is life. That something is going on in our community and it ain't right. And if you knew what you were about and who you came from, it would be a better today in Hartford, Connecticut. Because when you look at your history, you get a sense of your achievements and contributions. Worldwide, people, not just in America, but worldwide. I've traveled across the world, and everywhere I've gone, from China to Japan, I've seen people that look like us. I went to Egypt, Aswan. They couldn't speak the language, but they could grab my arm and say, me and you. So you know what that meant, right? So, you know, we're connected. We're connected. And our bloodline comes from kings and queens. We built great civilizations and kingdoms. We built the pyramids, which are still standing today. These symbols were built without modern technology. And scientists can't figure out how in the hell did they lift those heavy bricks up so high, but they did. And they don't know today what they study it, infrared, but they still can't figure out how did these people do this. So that lets you know we got it, but we're losing it. I wasn't born in Africa, but Africa was born in me. Africa is the birthplace of the civilization of mankind, no matter where you come from. And that's a fact. Sankofa, ladies, what?
We have to look back.
What?
We have to look back.
People?
We have to look back.
So no matter where you go, from the USA, Europe, Asia, or the Middle East, we are part of the African diaspora. We should realize our strength and resilience no matter where we live. We need to unite under one banner, Black Lives Matter. We can make universal changes across the world if we know our history. The color of a man's skin should be a badge of honor and respect. Remember James Brown? What did he say, ladies?
I'm black and I'm proud.
Say it loud.
I'm black and I'm proud.
People? All right, so James was on it, and that was the 60s. 68? Okay. Okay, somebody knows their history. Okay, we had many great freedom fighters. We had Malcolm X. We had Martin Luther King, Angela Davis, Shirley Chisholm. And Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You get tired of telling the other society what you want. I want freedom. So she was a smart woman from Mississippi. And they didn't want to seat her at the conference, but she just demanded that they seat her committee. So, remember, Sankofa,
we have to look back.
And another fact that they hide from us is that Egypt is in northern Africa America. They want to make it sound like it's part of Europe, but it's not. I can testify because I was there. I was there in those tombs. The Egyptians are the first ones to do embalming of bodies. They were able to preserve the bodies of the common people as well as the kings and the queens. And they wrote their history. See, they even knew about Sankofa. They wrote their history in hieroglyphics. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I was in those tombs, and it's still standing. You know, what kind of paint did they use? So that's why it's very important that they wrote their history down, that I was able to go in 2019 and go in those tombs and see that information. So, you know, when you know your history, you can feel good about yourself, but when you know nothing about yourself, you got the Saturday night special with the MK5 or whatever the rifles that they're killing people with, you know what I mean? But if you knew yourself, you wouldn't be doing all this. So we need to remember Sankofa. We are a mighty, strong black race of people. Maya Angelou said it best in her poem, "We still rise." No matter what they say or do to us as black people, we still rise to the top. We need to claim, embrace our greatness, creativity, our style, and our ability to survive. Without knowledge, the people will perish. Some states want to ban and whitewash the teaching of black history to protect their children from harsh realities of slavery. They want to call it involuntary relocation. This was just ridiculous. We just decided that we were just going to come over here because we had nothing else to do. So some stuff is really silly, but if you don't read your history, you don't know what's happening. And besides that, critical race theory is only taught in college and law school to let people know the injustices that we as people of color face when we go to the criminal justice system. So now they're trying to say that this is taught in elementary school and high school, which is a lie. But you gotta read, because I wrote a poem one time, reading time is freedom time, because if you're not careful, they're writing your epitaph and you don't even know it because you ain't reading nothing. So you need to read something. Put the phone down. If you're on the phone, read something. So we need to know our history and events happening around us. The truth will set you free, but you must be an active participant to bring about change. I'm still waiting for my 40 acres and a mule. I'm still waiting for reparations. But, you know, hope is not lost yet. If you remember your history, Sankofa,
we have to look back.
We have to look back. Thank you very much. All right.
for those who don't speak Spanish, what they were saying at the beginning of each thing was, black, black, I am a black woman. So, thank you all so much again for being here. Please, let's give another round of applause for the performers. And just a couple of closing words. There is food to be purchased, so please stop by and see our vendors, support them as well. Say hello to the performers, congratulate them. We're all going to be floating around here for a little while longer. Kimora, this is her space, and I know she would love for everyone to just explore and enjoy the grounds. Check out the labyrinth. Say hello to Kimora, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, y'all. Thank you.